Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a review of George Szell, The Forgotten Recordings. Wow! Who knew there were forgotten recordings? It's on the Somm label, but there were some. And it's very interesting to see what they are and how they came out. But first, I just want to thank all of you who recently have taken the time and trouble and effort to purchase your fabulous Classics Today t-shirts and merchandise. Anyone else who wants to do it, please give it some thought. I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this video to the ClassicsToday.com merchandise shop so you know where to go if you're interested in something, because it is summer and we could all use some short sleeve Classics Today merchandise to strut around the beach or whatever with. So there you go, and I really am grateful. Now, back to Mr. Szell. Most of the stuff is on Sony. We know this, right? Sony and EMI, and then there's old stuff and live stuff and whatever. But it turns out that in the 1950s, let's see what the dates were here, 54 and 55, he was asked to make some recordings for the Book of the Month Club that could be sold by subscription, along with discs, recordings of, they were music appreciation recordings, along with Deems Taylor and people like that, talking about the works, doing music appreciation lectures in conjunction with the performances. And he recorded a little chunk of repertoire here, all of which he remade for Sony with one exception. So it's not like there's anything that's going to be radical or revolutionary here. This was for Book of the Month Club subscribers, and it was not going to be unusual repertoire by Szell's or anyone else's standards. But what he did was, let's see, the Bach Orchestral Suite number 3 in D major, you know, the one with the air on a G string, and Smetana's The Moldau. Again, I mean, it's the third one of his that we have. Strauss's Till Eulenspiegel's Merry Pranks, Mozart's 39th Symphony, the Brahms Academic Festival Overture, the Brahms Variations on a Theme by Haydn, the Schumann 4th Symphony, and the Firebird Suite by Stravinsky. And it all fits very nicely on 2 CDs on Somm, the English label. Now, these recordings, these remasterings, should I say, were taken from LPs because nobody seems to know where the master tapes are. In fact, nobody seems to know who actually made these recordings for the Book of the Month Club. And the LPs are extremely rare. So we're very lucky, if you're a Szell person, that they were able to get their hands on them, and they've been very well remastered. There are a couple moments of like swishy stuff. I was listening to, I think in the Mozart there was some swishy stuff, and in a couple other places there was some, swishy stuff. But basically, they're very well done. Now, the Bach, the Smetana, and the Strauss are mono, and rather dim mono, to be honest with you. I mean, they're kind of congested and muffled and cut off at the upper end. They sound very mono. Only a year later, we're in stereo, and it's a world of difference. It really is. They sound just fine, and they're very, very enjoyable and easy to listen to. Now, as far as the interpretations go, that's where things kind of get interesting. Well, the Bach is the Bach. I mean, it sounds like Bach, and Bach in a very boxy acoustic. Boxy Bach. Yes, it's boxy Bach. But then we have the Moldau, and this is interesting because Szell's stereo recording of the Moldau is my choice for getting the whole piece absolutely perfectly. I mean, it's just perfect. It's an amazing performance, and he gets the trumpet parts at the end right. And he's one of the very, very few people who does it. And he doesn't do it here. It just goes to show that nobody is perfect. It's wonderful because the trumpets are doing their duet. They're going dum ba da da 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 da. Well, everybody gets the da-da-da-da wrong because you don't hear a unified arpeggio. I mean, the first trumpet's doing the 2 low notes, and someone does the 2 high notes, and usually what you hear is da-da, da-da, da-da. Well, that's what you hear. And I can as sure as I'm sitting here telling you that Szell heard that and said, I'm never letting that happen again. And it never did, at least as far as his stereo recording goes. So that was an interesting lesson. And like I said, it's in mono and kind of grotty sound, so it doesn't matter so much. The Till Eulenspiegel is a very fast performance. It's less than 14 minutes long. It's really, really zippy. And to my mind, actually not that characterful as a result. It sounds to be rather complacent and cool. And so his studio recording, much later in stereo, is infinitely superior. The Mozart 39 is marvelous. I mean, his Mozart was always terrific. It's just fresh and lively and beautiful and terrific. The Brahms pieces, the Academic Festival, and the Haydn variations are terrific, as you might expect from Szell. And the Schumann Fourth may be like the prize of this set. It's a really, really good Schumann Fourth. You know, Szell loved Schumann. I mean, he loved Schumann so much that he rewrote a lot of it to fix the orchestration. And his recording of the Fourth, it was always good, and this one is really good. I mean, maybe a little better than his stereo, formal studio one. It's just an incredibly impulsive and fresh sounding Schumann Fourth. It really is just lovely, and it has guts and weight and yummy. And the Stravinsky, the Firebird Suite, oh, I wish he'd done more Stravinsky. He was such a guy to do Stravinsky because, he would have insisted on all of that fanatical precision that Stravinsky wanted. I mean, his Firebird, the studio recording, the stereo one is amazing, and this is no less amazing. And the playing is phenomenal, and the tempi are really pretty swift and like the infernal dance, but they really play it. It's like move over Pierre Boulez. I mean, if you really want to hear someone dig into it, you got to hear Szell in Cleveland do the Firebird Suite. So it's not all great, not by any stretch of the imagination, and there's nothing new here that hasn't been repeated. And because Szell was so consistent, mostly, not in the Moldau, but most of the time, you're going to get a pretty exalted standard of performance, no matter what he was doing. But for Szell fans, I mean, this is self-recommending, and I want you to know that it exists. But if you've got the big box or you've got all the other Szell stuff, you certainly don't need to duplicate the repertoire. You really don't. Even for the things that might be marginally better, I think you're still pretty well off standing by your guns. But it's not terribly expensive. So if you want to go for it, who am I to say no? I mean, far be it from me. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.